You're listening to Real Talk Texas with local expert Steve Hakes. Now, here's Steve.
Hi, this is Real Talk Texas, KLIF 570 AM. I'm Alicia Trevino, filling in for Steve Hakes. And in the studio today, we have real estate guru Kristian Peterson, who is talking to us about high-rise living and living in Uptown. And for those of you who just tuned in, we have been talking a little bit about all the different lifestyles, all the different buildings, where they are located. And then you dropped a bomb and said, hey, you can live on Turtle Creek for $100,000. Almost fell out of my chair, so we talked a little bit about that. But high-rises are not the only type of living in Uptown. So I know that there's condo living, there's townhome living, there's single-family living. So I kind of want to get into that with you a little bit so that the listeners out there who want to live the lifestyle that is Uptown, but still can't really think about, I just don't want to live in a high-rise, not for me. What other types of living homes that do you see out there right now and price points? Let's talk a little bit about that too.
Well, I think you have a little bit of everything. I think one of the great things about Dallas is, due to the arts district now, we're on the global stage. So a lot more people are coming to Dallas for a lot of different reasons. I think just because everybody with technology is so used to things moving so fast and wanting immediate gratification, I think those days of living an hour's drive away from the city has just become, people are following the idea now because of technology, because of being able to work at home or being on their smartphones. People are now wanting to live where they play instead of living close to where they work. And I think that's probably what has made Uptown such a great destination in the last 5 years.
Yeah, urban living is amazing. It really is. And even though I keep trying to segue into a condo, I keep going into the buildings because, even downtown and Uptown have two completely different feelings. It's more casual in downtown. It has definitely great flavors because you can go in an old building, the Davis building. I love the Davis building. Now, it's a rental building, but those prices have just skyrocketed for rentals, haven't they?
Well, I think everywhere in Uptown, downtown, I think rentals have increased a whole lot in the last 2.5 years. I think that's the side of the market that really picked up when the sales side was down. There were a lot of people, if they didn't own, they were on the fence. Our price is going to go lower. What am I going to do? I think some of those buildings downtown are amazing too. You can't beat the rooftop parties that they have at the Davis building.
You can't.
That's amazing.
No, it's just a party all around.
And then the first building, too, that they've actually converted from a commercial building to a residential building, being the Metropolitan down at 1200 Main Street. That's a great starter building for downtown if you look at the prices on there for a 1-1.
What's a 1-1 going for there?
I think they start probably in 120s to 130s.
In the 130s. Leasing too, if you want to get into downtown, your leasing prices do start at about $1,300-$1,400. And, the rentals can go up. I've seen them. They go to $3,000 to $4,000 a month. But it's a lifestyle that's very different, and you don't spend a lot of money on gasoline driving 30 minutes. You don't spend a lot of, you go downstairs and the restaurants are right there. It's amazing what you will find in the urban setting now. But there is condominiums. There's also townhomes. One of my favorite places is St. Thomas. When I first got here, I was just overwhelmed at how fabulous it was. It didn't feel like Dallas at all. St. Thomas has a different feel altogether with the little neighborhood bars and the restaurants. And, even though it's in the middle of the city, you have all those beautiful trees. And that was a really great development.
I think that St. Thomas was probably molded after one of the boroughs in New York. It is. There's an urban setting all around it, but within the confines itself, they have great sidewalks, they have great dog spaces, open spaces, lots of lush landscaping and stuff that's built all around them. I think St. Thomas is probably one of the best examples of the new urbanism concept, where you can work and play and shop and do everything right in your own neighborhood.
Within 8 blocks of your
Oh, sure.
Yeah, 8 blocks. And it's a mixed use area where you have rentals and you actually have where people are purchasing them, and what's typical of St. Thomas is a 4-story townhome where you come in and you have a bedroom or an office on the first floor and your garage, and then the second floor is a kitchen, and then the third floor is a living area, and maybe on the fourth floor you have a patio or something, right? I mean, I see that a lot. But also, there are a couple buildings, and I don't know them off the top of my head, that do offer one stories for those of you who don't want to tackle the stairs.
Yeah, there's still flats available in St. Thomas, probably one of the most pronounced buildings if you ever drive on 75 coming out of downtown and you look to the west, you see that big curved glass building called Block 588.
I love that building.
Great building, has floor-to-ceiling glass, has the most amazing views. Downtown is just right in your face in those. And as you well know, the prices in there are really reasonable to get started. It has more of an open-air concept. It has open hallways, that kind of thing. And I think their homeowners' dues are a lot more in line with probably what people are thinking they would have.
And Griggs Park, too, is being renovated. And so it's a huge park. And it's going to look beautiful. So, and it's a huge park. I'm not sure how big it is, but it's open air. It's very dog friendly, kid friendly. You see people playing baseball out there all the time or playing soccer. I mean, it's just a great, great park that's right there in that urban setting.
I think that's probably one of the best things that I've seen this city do in the last 5 years. As more and more people are moving into downtown and uptown, they've really been planning more and more open spaces. I mean, I've lived down there 25 years, and I remember when we had to take our dogs in the car and drive them down to the Ross Avenue underpass because that was the only place where they had a dog park for them to play. Now with the new Clyde Warren Park over Woodall Rogers, Griggs Park, Turtle Creek Park, Lee Park. I mean, everywhere you turn in the neighborhood now, there's open spaces. And I'm seeing more and more people on nice days. They're out there with a blanket and reading a book or surfing the internet or playing ball with their kids. I mean, for people that live out in the suburbs and think that coming into uptown and downtown, that they're going to have to give up all the great outdoor amenities that they have no idea what we have to offer.
They really don't. It's so convenient to go down out of my building and go to the park and actually stay out there all day because it's great people watching, but you also have internet access. You can work there. You can actually sit and work on a pretty day, and you see a lot of people doing that and taking advantage of it. So, again, I think a lot of people want their life back, and, instead of spending 2 hours commuting in the car, they want to spend 2 hours hanging out in the park. And, even if you have your laptop in front of you, it still feels different. We need sun, people. We need to be out there and get some sun in our lives.
I never believed living in Texas that I could actually go days without driving my car. I mean, think about that for a minute. When was the last time you went one day without taking your car out of the garage, okay, other than being sick and staying home? But essentially, we can get out and walk to some of the best five-star restaurants, world-class shopping, world-renowned museums. Everything is within walking distance.
Yeah. The other day, Pat Benatar was here, and I could hear her from my apartment. It's unusual to hear something, but I could just kind of hear the sounds of it. And so, I mean, I was called to go downstairs. It's like, oh, let's go downstairs. Let's see, let's kind of hear it. The minute you walked outside, she was playing at the Arts District. What is that? What's that theater called? I can't believe I can't recall it. Well, anyway, it's an outdoor. It's absolutely beautiful. The Arts District is amazing. I could hear her whole concert, so I got to do it for free, which is always good.
The AT&T Performing Center.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the AT Performance Center. So she was just amazing. So it was fun, and it was something to do, and it was like on a Tuesday night, and there's a new restaurant out there. Shout out to the Lark, by the way. And that place was so amazing. We sat out on the patio, beautiful weather. So something you wouldn't have gotten to do if you lived in the suburbs. And I'm not doubting the suburbs because I live there and there's lots to be said for it. But even folks who have children, these kids are actually living a different lifestyle. There's so many schools in the urban area. There's 3 of them right in the middle of Uptown that I think people don't even realize. And we have some of the nicest private schools as well. So again, it's not just for adults. You can have a family, and the kids tend to love it a great deal, and they learn a lot because they do get to go to the Arts District. And I just heard the Dallas Museum of Art, it's free to get in now. Did you hear that? Between
that and the Perot Museum, I mean, those
amazing.
Are so geared towards young people. And talking about young people in high-rises, I used to have a lot of people say, well, we have kids and we don't think that lifestyle will work for us. I can tell you, in the building that I lived in, there were actually 3 generations of one family. that had all been raised there. The grandparents originally bought in the 60s. They had their kids, raised them there. They got married, moved back to the building, had their kids there. It's like anything. Obviously, if you live on the 20th floor, you're not going to let your toddler go out on the balcony by themselves. But that's the same thing when you go on vacation and stay in a hotel. But other than that, they offer all the same opportunities as they would living on the ground.
I'm totally going to age myself right now. Do you remember Jody and Buffy? Do you remember that show?
Yeah, Family Affair.
Oh, my God. I didn't get it back then, and I totally get it now. I used to be like, oh, God, what a great, way to live. And so we can actually live like that here in Dallas now. For those of you listening who know who Jody and Buffy are, yes, I'm getting old.
That's okay. I remember that show, too. But when I lived in the high-rise, I didn't have my own Mr. French.
That would be so nice. But we have a concierge. So you know what? We have a concierge, and that's kind of like Mr. French. And maybe if you ask him, hey, give you a nickname.
I can't say that lifestyle is very easy to get into, and it's very easy to become spoiled. I can tell you, I lived in the same building for almost 20 years, and I did not know where my parking space was.
I love that being spoiled part. That is awesome. Okay, well, we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. We'll in our next segment, we'll talk a little bit again about lifestyles in Uptown, shopping in Uptown. This is Real Talk Texas, KLIF 570. I'm Alicia Trevino, and we'll be right back.